Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah.
A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak, yet again. So here we go on this journey. Or could I just possibly say, a little trip back in time, because as it turns out, looks like I finally done it. 700 episodes of Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel like you've heard about that way too far, like way too many times. So I apologize for that in advance, but that's not the point here. It appears that for episode number 700, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Renaissance. An era that of course spanned for several centuries, especially during the second millennium after the so-called birth of Christ. But the main thing here is that this was in fact a gigantic part of our history. The history, of course, that delved inside all of Europe, especially with what happened prior to the very beginning of this whole entire thing, which was, of course, the bubonic plague. Oh gosh. I kind of gagged a little bit just thinking about that, but the Renaissance was, in fact, something that occurred, especially between the 14th century up until around the 17th century. At the best, pretty much. But the main thing about this is that it was a huge point in Europe for the many discoveries that happened based on the philosophy and art. You might recognize certain parts of history, especially when Leonardo da Vinci was alive. And if there's something that the Mona Lisa has told us about, it'd be the fact that at some point in time, we always have to recognize what happened back then. And of course, I could go into much greater detail on the whole entire thing itself, but I'm just going to give you a quick little dive into it. The Renaissance itself, during its peak season, was in fact quite a big time for many discoveries. As I've said before, philosophy and art happened to be at the core of it, but there were in fact occasionally lots of other things that had taken place as well, including the many different inventions out there. History does show that we have had a lot of progression that took place, especially because of how infamous the bubonic plague, the Dark Ages, and then of course the many wars that took place throughout that era. It was also a big time to basically discover what was known as the Age of Sail, which is a whole nother topic that I might as well talk about some other time. But the main thing here is that the Renaissance was quite a gigantic portion of our history that had happened inside of our own lifespan. As crazy as it sounds, it sure was very significant. Not only towards European, but also to many other countries and continental environments throughout the world. It sure had a lot of effects across the board. But that's pretty much going to cut it for today. Like I said, I don't need to bore everybody with little pieces of history here. Just giving you a quick little look into these things. More specifically, the many kind of subjects that I tend to put up that are history related are certainly going to be things that I won't necessarily put very much time towards. Especially because, well, number 701 and onwards are certainly going to prove to be quite useful. So that's pretty much it for right now. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.